Hey, what is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. This is going to be episode 2 of the Getting the M3 Off the Snuff series. In episode 1, we talked about everything I want to do to this car this coming car season. In this episode, we're going to be giving this car a thorough exterior deep cleaning, get in all the nooks and crannies. We're going to pull the headlights and tail lights out and make sure to kind of clean everything out. And we're also going to rinse the underside off so that we can get all the salt off of there now that all the salt's off the road. And then we're going to be done. So to start off, I'm going to go ahead and set the camera up on the tripod. You're going to watch me rinse her off. Just a quick tip, if you don't have a nozzle for your hose, you can put your thumb over half of it and it kind of gives you an even spray pattern. So now I got the car all rinsed off. I got my wash mitt with soap on it. Note that when you're washing your car, always make sure you go from top to bottom and make sure where your wash mitt is bent so that you don't swirl your paint with all the dirt that you're picking up. So now we got the car rinsed off. Now we're on the drying phase. Something I strongly recommend you guys pick up if you wash your own car is this towel. It's called the Dreadnought, and I cannot say how awesome this thing is enough. Watch this for a second. Here, right here. All the water gone, and this towel is incredible. I'll put a link down below for you guys that want to buy this. It has saved my life so many times. So I'm gonna go ahead and dry this off, and we'll talk about what we're gonna do next. So for the headlights, normally what you'd have to do is pull this off via the screws here and here. This would come off, and then you have a screws down here. I'm lazy, so I don't have those. So instead, I'm going to be starting with the turn signals. I'm going to pop them out, which I'll show you how to do. And then there's going to be a screw down there on both of them. And then there's 2 screws here. If you have a US card, there'll be a third one in the middle. And then this headlight will just pop out. Okay, so to pop the turn signal out, there is a clip inside that you essentially have to push with, well, I'm going to use a flathead, but really you can use pretty much anything. You're going to push that clip in, and while you're doing that, you're going to pull the turn signal out. And I'll show you that clip once it's out. There's also, be mindful, don't just like pull out this way, because if yours aren't broken, like mine aren't, there's a little like kind of tab almost that pushes into the fender, and that is kind of what's helping align it. So I'm going to go ahead and get this out, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Alright, so here we go. Now I got the turn signal out. I'm going to go ahead and pull this off. Which is going to be a little bit tight because this hasn't been on a while. Alright, there we go. Also, be mindful not to touch the bulb with your finger. So on the turn signal here, I'll show you what I'm talking about. You have these 2 tracks, which slide into the tracks here on the headlight. And then you have, oh, which mine just broke off. These break really easily. There is a little tab normally here, as you can see where it's broken. And that would slide into this hole here on the fender, and that kind of helps line it up. It's really not that necessary. I mean, you know, this might have broke now or at a different date. I have no idea. But now that's out. So we're going to go ahead and pull the screws out for the headlights, and then we'll pull this guy out. Alright, so we got the headlight out. Make sure to undo your screws. You have US headlights. You're only going to have these 2, which you just pull down on the clip and, or excuse me, sorry, pull off on the clip, and then it comes out. Then if you have Euro headlights like mine, you're going to have some kind of other connection. I really don't want to mess with this right now, so I'm just going to kind of set the headlight on this side, and then I'm going to go ahead and pull the other headlight out, and I'll show you what we're going to do next. Okay, so now I have the other headlight out. I'm going to use this as my example, actually, is why I wanted to pull these out. See all that dirt and stuff on there? I mean, there's a leaf in here. This is actually what I did for the other one, but it's got a long enough cord. I'm just going to let it sit there and made a butt connector. So we're going to go ahead and, I don't know if I'm going to kind of show you in here. There is a ton of dirt and grime and stuff kind of in here. And then also there is a tiny little spot here that's kind of starting to rust. So I want to go ahead and get like an 80 grit sand block, kind of sand that off, put a little Rust-Oleum on it. Doesn't need to be perfect because the turn signal is going to sit on top of it anyway. And just generally kind of clean up in here. Definitely helps to have the space open with the headlights out. Okay, so now we are kind of done cleaning everything up. We are on to this now. So I pointed this out earlier. This little spot here, I've kind of been watching it for a little while. I wanted to see if it was going to start rusting, and it has. Very tiny amount of surface. So I have an 80 grit sand block here, and we're going to kind of just work into that space and get all the rust out so it's just bare metal. And then I have some silver Rust-Oleum, which you've seen in my other video, which we will be using to seal this up so that it doesn't get any worse. If you're ever doing something like this on your own car, be very slow and meticulous. Obviously, you can already see I'm kind of getting outside of the work area, but you're gonna have to do that when it comes to rust, because you want to make sure you get all of it, because it just spreads like cancer. I mean, you miss a tiny little bit, it's just gonna come right back. At some point, I am gonna get this entire front end repainted, but I do want to do something about this now just to kind of hold it off so that I don't have to worry about it. So as you can see now, the surface area that I sanded off was a lot bigger than the original spot was, but as it kept going, I noticed that there was more and more rust starting underneath of it, which is why you kind of have to do this to make sure you get all of it. I do see a very tiny amount left here, but that's okay. The Rust-Oleum is designed to be able to seal this. This is pretty much as good as I'm gonna get with just sandpaper and normal hand tools. So I'm gonna grab the Rust-Oleum, we're gonna paint over this, and then we gotta let it cure. And while we're doing that, we're gonna go ahead and work on the taillights. It does not take a lot, just a little bit on your brush. And kind of just paint over it. And make sure that you cover everything when you're doing this. All the places that you reveal the primer of. Because if you don't get the places that you revealed all the primer on, then that could later then also start to rust again. And all this would have been pointless. Also make sure you get the edges. Does not have to be perfect. It's not designed to be. This is very DIY, like bare minimum of what you should do. But now we got a good even coat of this paint on here. So we're gonna go ahead and let that cure. You definitely can see it's a little bit different, but it's close enough. And I mean, again, the turn signal is literally gonna be on this edge. I don't really care. So we're gonna let that cure. While we're doing that, I'm actually gonna clean my hands off. And then we're gonna go to the back of the car and we're gonna go pull the taillights out and check for similar stuff to this. So now we're in the back of the car. We're gonna pull both these taillights out. I'm gonna show you how to do that. So for step one, you are going to pull out this cover here. Just a little twisty on them, and you pull them out. For step two, after you got that cover off, there are 4 nuts, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just note that when you're doing these, don't do one and then fully, then do another and go that way. Because if you do that, you're gonna snap one of these studs off, and you're going to hate your life. I've done it before, trust me, it's a new taillight when you do that. Or JB Weld if you're good with that. So I'm gonna get these 4 nuts off, and I'll actually go ahead and do both headlights, but after you get these nuts off, the headlight just pulls out and you're done. And then once you got everything undone, then you're just gonna kind of slowly start to pull it out. Mine's not that stuck in, but normally these can get pretty stuck, and you need to actually grab like a pry bar and use leverage. I say pry bar, do not put anything metal against your paint ever. Plastic always. Actually, this guy right here, you probably can't see him, but that is completely just because I used the flathead once against here. But now I got my headlight out, and oh wow, that looks bad. Fortunately, none of that is rust, it's all dirt, but this is why I'm pulling these out. Unfortunately, these aftermarket taillights, depot, tend to not seal as well, so you're gonna have to pull them out every once in a while, otherwise you're gonna get dirt buildup like this, and eventually this will rust. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my other guy out, and we'll see how it looks behind there as well. All right, here we go. What do we got? That one looks a lot better, actually. So that's good news. So for the other one, I'm gonna go ahead and probably clean that out, and I'll clean this out too. And then I'll show you why I wanted to pull all these out. All right, so I got this cleaned out. I just use McGuire's Quick Detailer, so that's pretty good. Got these cleaned out, got the tail lights cleaned out. But I did notice there were some more spots where the paint was starting to kind of show the primer. So I went ahead and hit that with the Rust-Oleum. We're gonna go back to the front of the car, and I'm gonna show you what I've been talking about, this Turtle Wax stuff this whole time. So I do want to give the Rust-Oleum a chance to cure, but while I'm doing that, I can go ahead and start talking about this. So this is a Turtle Wax hybrid solution ceramic coating. What this does is it's basically a replacement for wax. It's not actually I mean, it kind of works like a ceramic coating, but it's a lot more temporary than like a true ceramic coating. This is really nice for a lot of you DIYers like myself that kind of just want something that's easy to spray on a rag, spray on your panel, or wipe on your panel, and then you're done. And it'll definitely protect your paint. It gives it a very deep shine. I have paint corrected this car already, because that's something you should do, is clay bar paint correct it. I did that last year, but I have clay barred it a lot more recently than that. So the paint is very smooth. If you spray this over dirty paint, you're just going to trap in all that dirt and it will look awful. You don't want to do that. But since it's not warm enough yet for me to do the other ceramic coating that I want to do, which we'll see in a future video, I can use this, be more temporary. This lasts usually a couple of months, depending on how you maintain your paint. Go ahead and spray on this rag here. Usually 2 or 3 sprays, and then you just kind of wipe it into the panel. And then you're done. Camera might not show the difference, how glossy it is, but I mean, instantly, just by doing it, I can already see it being glossier. Something else you do have to note though is streaks. So if you're kind of looking at it, you see a little streak, just kind of wipe it again. But I'm gonna go over the whole car, use this. I think this video is already running really long on time, so cue another time lapse, maybe a little shorter than the others. I don't know. We'll see when I'm editing. Okay, so coming back up to the front here, just some kind of final takes. A couple of things I noticed with the headlights out is, one, I have insane access to the fog light here, so I might try to secure this in some way, because I mean, I can play around with it. I might be able to do that. The reason I wanted to do the Turtle Wax stuff with the headlights, taillights out is because now I can get in here, and then taillights I got in like the crevice, or like the behind there, so I'm going to hope that maybe next time I pull them out, it will have helped the dirt to not stick as well. And then over here, I also noticed my intake temperature sensor, which you can see down there, it's the yellow. It's kind of just hanging out there, which would explain why sometimes it decides to not work. I'm gonna guess it gets knocked somewhere where it can't read. So it just defaults like the negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit, whatever reading it gives. So I'm gonna try to figure those two things out. I'll do that off camera. This video is probably going way too long now. And then I am going to put on my Dynon intake tube, which I have here. It's gonna change it up a little bit, you know, have the other intake on for a while. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw all this back together and you'll get to see the end result. All right, so we got everything back together. You may notice there's not a Dynon tube over here. I am freaking down with that Dynon tube. I just realized when I was looking at it, the intake air temperature sensor down there, the reason it was partly because it was knocked out So the dyno intake wants to sit right where that thing is. I think there's a way you can get it to work without knocking it out of the way, but definitely not with these headlights. There's no way, so I can't make that work. I still like this intake, so whatever. Just won't change it up then. And I do have to say, this thing looks really nice in the engine bay, and I don't know if camera's gonna show this off really well, but that turtle wax stuff, I mean, the paint just gleams. It is so nice. I am going to, though, and something you should always do when you mess with things is make sure everything still works. So make sure that, well, the headlights are going to be on because nothing's on, but okay, that all works. Let's come to the back here, and taillights work. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It was probably pretty long. I'll see when I'm editing it, but I definitely wanted to clean the car off, get the turtle wax stuff on. In the future, I'm gonna do like an actual ceramic coating, like what the professionals use, and well, I'll do a detailed video on that. I'll do like actual paint correction. I'll clay bar the whole car, and it'll be like a whole thing. But for now, this looks good. I mean, the paint, like, your hand just rubs right off it, so I'm happy. Comment down below what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.